Hello.
Right, we're just having a few technical challenges around sharing the presentation and things like that. But by the time I've stopped talking, I think Pete will have solved it. So he tells me. No, he won't have solved it. This could make it challenging. You'd have thought everyone would be an expert after 2 years of just exclusively doing this. But I'm for one, I always use Teams, never use Zoom. So I really struggle when I get on Zoom calls. Actually, my name's correct on there. That's quite bizarre because it's usually Lucy Swan because it's her account. And the first thing I have to be told to do is change my name as soon as I get onto it. Right, I'm going to start. You know, people will drift in, I'm sure. Very much appreciate people making the time to join tonight. As I said, we are recording the session so that we can share it with others after this that can't make it. There's quite a few people have messaged me to say, unfortunately, they can't make it. Obviously, it also clashes with men's training and there's some mixed training tonight and things like that. So there's a number of reasons why people can't, but we were keen. You know, I think I've sent a couple of notes out so far this season talking about talent centres and what they might mean to the club or not mean for the club. But we wanted to come on and give you a little bit of an introduction to where we are on that journey, what changes you might see as we do that, and I guess at the end of the day, what the support the ongoing support that we're going to need as we go through this process. I think it's just worth saying, we're really proud as a club to have got to this point where we're in the Pathfinder group of clubs to go through the first phase of what is a completely new process for England hockey. So they've kind of revamped everything, and Pete will go into that in a little bit, but they've revamped the way they look at taking people with potential and developing them into talent. They've looked at this for a number of reasons around, really pushing, getting people into the elite game is the ultimate aim, but starting from a grassroots level. And I think, for us, I think what I'd say is it's evolution, not revolution. Why are we on that? Why did we get down selected from 100 odds that applied in the first tranche? I think it's recognition that we do some good stuff already, but there's always room for improvement. We got 33 of the juniors this year got selected to play for Hampshire and one for Surrey, which is continues to be a record of people that actually get through to that. And I was on that train last night. It's quite nice. Couldn't even remember the order of the stations. But anyway, Pete, how are we doing? Are you about ready to launch into this? So Pete has kindly taken the leadership on the talent centre. Got Pete to thank for putting together some great words when we had to do our expression of interest as to why Alton, why we thought we would, with the right sort of club, with the right environment to be a talent centre. And he's very kindly picked up and taken on from there to lead, a lot of the workshops and the work that we've been doing with England hockey. Really, since probably October, November time, it was kind of a slow start. But we're in a position now we know a lot more about it. England hockey are kind of evolving as we go along, so they know a bit more about what they're really trying to get out of the clubs, and they want the clubs to be different. They don't want every club to be a robot. The same, and clubs will be with different catchments, different people playing in those teams. Lots of reasons why they want the diversity of the way people approach being a talent centre as much as anything else. So hopefully, Pete, I can hand over to you at this point.
I'm hoping there's a Zoom expert and PowerPoint expert on here. So does anyone know how to do slideshow so that the Zoom camera sees the slideshow when I share, but I can still see my notes without everyone else seeing my notes? No. I was hoping someone would come to the rescue. All right, so you're not going to get the slick slideshow experience that you should have done. So apologies for that. Just give me...
No, I think you have to have a second screen, Pete, to do that.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I suspected. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right, so you're not going to get the slick experience that I was hoping for. So just give me 30 seconds to try and get rid of some of these views going on. Oh, I'm just going to wing it. So I won't be able to see anything that's happening in Zoom, okay? So apologies. Right.
I think what we said is we'd like to, please post questions in the chat. Part of this, having this today, if something's not obvious, if something, if we need to answer, we're going to do some FAQs on the website alongside this. So if you do think of something, if something's not clear, please just pop a question in. I think Pete was planning to sort of spend about 30 minutes talking about it and then leave some time to answer some questions. If we can't answer them today, we'll take them away and we'll come back to you with responses.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. Shout at me if
you can see that.
Okay, cool. Can you see that?
Yep.
Right. Can you see yourselves? Shall I get rid of you? No? Can you just see the slides? Okay, cool. All right. So
you, Pete.
Okay, excellent. Right. So we're just going to talk about the Talent Centre. Thanks for that intro, John. So during this sort of next 30 minutes, what we're going to talk about is what is the new hockey development system? What is talent? Did you all watch the video, by the way, we sent round? Yes, some people did. Well done. You're in my good books. So what is potential? What's happening to players at the Talent Centre, partners, and we'll talk about a player profile. Okay. So a quick recap of the current process. So what happens is clubs and schools nominate people to the County Development Centre. People do 6 weeks of training or 5 sessions and then a sort of festival. The players from each of those development centres, or the better players, get nominated to the County Academy Centre. They get assessed over 1 or 2 sessions. They form the county squad. Then the best people from that Academy Centre get brought forward to the Performance Centre. Best people there go on to represent the region in the Futures Cup. And if you're very lucky, you get selected for under 16 or under 18 England team. So then this process is riddled with problems. So this bit only happens once a year. This bit happens once a year. Who gets nominated is very dependent on who's coaching at what development centre and what they're looking for. At the AC Centre, there's often 50 plus players getting looked at by a handful of coaches over 2 hours. It's not a rigorous process. And then the Performance Centre, again, nominations for that happen once a year. If you get in, happy days. If you don't, then it's very difficult to break into that. Also, there isn't a lot of movement in the Performance Centre. So once people are in, they're in. And so places are often full. Again, who makes it to the Futures Cup and gets spotted at the Futures Cup is a bit of a lottery. And the England under 16 and under 18 teams are dominated by big, fast players who learn hockey at public school. So they play lots and lots of hockey. And so England hockey and GB hockey are missing out a huge range of players. So they want to change it. So in future, GB hockey development is about not looking just at talent and who's currently performing well, which tends to be the big players who go to public school, but it's around potential. They're really big on the right athlete in the right environment. So they want clubs to run these talent centres so that we've got the right environment for people. We can move them between different teams and really give that right stretch. The whole process is about keeping it open and keeping the net wide. So there's going to be multiple opportunities to get into the development program. You're going to have lots of eyes on you. John says that's a bit freaky, but lots of scouts, lots of coaches looking at different players and across multiple environments as well. So you're not going through this sort of just tiered system and weeding people out at each stage. And it's also about increasing the quality and frequency of training and competition. Okay, so this is the pillars they've decided are supporting the talent system. So players are at the absolute centre of this. It's not about coaches just doing what they want to do and delivering session plans. Players are really at front and centre, and you'll find out why in a minute. real recognition that talent develops at different rates, in different ways, in different places. So as the video said, you know, you might have an early growth spurt, and that puts you above other people in the system. You might be a slow developer, you might be shy, and by that time you might have missed out on the England hockey player pathway. They want greater diversity throughout, so that's socioeconomic and in terms of playing styles and different physiques. Great coaching is at the core, and find out what we're doing about that as well. They want some exceptional hockey basics. Oh, sorry, let's go back a bit. Click. Oh, previous, go. Exceptional hockey basics. So there was a movement away from teaching the basics in terms of just letting people have fun and developing their own techniques, but they're bringing back some of that, but it's not as prescriptive as it once was. And they want a healthy talent development culture, and there's a lot of things underpinning that, as you'll find out more. And there's some enablers which you probably can't see, which is great governance with supporting systems, which is what the club and committee are putting in place. Fantastic processes and infrastructure, and they're going to build a new IT system, I think, to sort it out. Okay, so this is the new player development model. I must admit, I'm not a fan of this slide, but I've lifted it from the document. So down at this end, it's participation age. You start early, introducing hockey phase, a little bit older, developing hockey. If you're just a social hockey player, you'll move up into this. So it's all about participation, not particularly about developing performance. This is about sustaining competitive hockey across the board. So our current league system, we need a load of people playing hockey to keep that going. But this is where we are. This is where the talent centre will be in the talent foundations stage. And we're trying to help people shift, not just from the participation side, but more towards performance, developing the skills which will take them on to the next stage, which is a talent development stage, which will be, which is going to be a talent academies, and moving up into the elite of domestic hockey, so age group squads, elite development program, and national squads. Yeah. And this is a slightly different view. So this is where the talent centre sits. There will be some people going through a talent schools process and trying to get accreditation that way, and this, in theory, county hockey will still continue. And I think it's a real grey area around where does a talent centre sit and where does county hockey sit. In my mind, we are going to be giving a sort of better experience than people will get at county hockey currently. That's where we're pitching it, and in terms of the support mechanisms we'll have in place. And then as you move on up, you get into the upper reaches of you know, the talent system and go on into win the Olympics. Okay, cool. So let's talk about talent, the T word. So talent is developed from potential. Everyone has a certain amount of natural giftedness. This natural makeup we all come with is unique to each of us and is only the starting point. We don't define this as talent and do not describe players with an abundance of natural gifts as talented. We have been until now, so we're trying to move away from that. We would describe them as having potential. And talent is what you would develop from these natural beginnings through experiences and training. So we're moving away from the word talent. Despite being called a talent centre, we don't want us to use it. And if you catch me saying talent again in the rest of this presentation, then Brad will pay a fine for me. Okay, so we want to move away from the word talent. So hockey is an early sampling, late specialisation sport. So what they mean there is we want players to have lots of different sporting experience, particularly as they're younger, and they should only really focus on hockey in their late teens, if that's the way they want to go. Unlike some other sports, such as gymnastics, where you've pretty much got to get in from the get-go to have any chance of sort of developing yourself fully, hockey is a big open sport and you can do lots of things. So talent should be used for the performers in the game when they consistently perform in elite competition. And being labelled as talented can be detrimental, and players think they've made it. So instead, we should use high potential. Okay. Oh, hang on, missed it. So this is a framework we've been kicking around. So as coaches, so what we're doing here is we're plotting where someone's performing currently versus where they are developing their potential currently, and both of these things can move. They're not fixed, okay? And it's a framework to allow coaches to discuss players, so we all get the same idea of what we mean when we're talking about a player. And it also helps us to identify what we can do to help players. So I'll just talk you through this. So number one is probably someone like, well, in fact, it is based on a real person in the club. So this is someone who is a junior, but they're playing adult hockey, reasonable high level, doing really well in adult hockey, but also really pushing themselves when it comes to training, trying to learn and develop new things. They've got some way to go in both areas. They could be pushing up and sort of playing one's level, and there are certain things we recognise in their potential that they're not doing currently, and we want to help them achieve that. Number two is someone who is really bags of potential or had, and they've gone off the boil. So they're performing really well playing adult hockey as well as junior hockey, but they are undermining their own potential because of their ethos, their work rate, etc. Number three, someone who's not performing very well, low potential. That's someone like me. So, you know, just playing the odd social game of hockey, not really pushing themselves, don't train. They just want to do it for fun. Okay. And four is someone who is probably new to the sport, still trying to experiment, can't do skills properly, but really has good hand-eye coordination that we can see, bags of energy, really pushing themselves. And we see this across all the age groups in the club, actually. So does all that make sense? You can nod. I can actually see some of you. So yeah, right. So what I want briefly you to do is grab a bit of paper or just mentally plot your own child, children, or yourself on this. Don't have to tell anyone. But I just want you to go through that process about, is someone holding back their own potential because of X, Y, Z? And we'll explore those reasons in a minute. Is everyone all right with that? I can only see some of you. Gosh, a tough crowd. Come on, interact.
Yes.
Thanks, John. Okay. Oh dear. Right. Has everyone done that?
I'm out here. I'm doing it, Pete. Don't worry.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I'm having a go too. Although you don't necessarily really know, like I don't play hockey, so I don't really know how good my children are at it.
That's fine. That's fine. Just think, you know, are they coming on a Saturday morning or playing in a junior game, giving it their all? It's more about this potential axis that I'm interested in.
Yeah, Pete, I think it's a tricky one. I've got two kids that go to every training session, but I just gauge it on whether they're happy and whether they want to go to training. And I don't really look beyond that because I don't have a great deal of hockey knowledge. So that's hard. I guess that's where I'm looking for you to be the coach.
Actually, this is an unfair exercise. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can tell you later where I'd plot them.
Okay. Tell me at training. Whisper
I will
it.
do. I will do.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, what's going on? So, what could be holding a player back? So, you're going to have to type in the chat now. We want some engagement. So, what factors could be holding a player back from reaching their performance and potential? There's no right or wrong answers, by the way. It's not a test. We've identified, as coaches, we've identified quite a few, and and it would just be interesting to see if we've missed any and get your views. No, good, good. Who said rubbish coaching? Is that John? Rob identified coaching as well. Cohorts, yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, failure. Okay, that's some really good. Oh, Forbes is getting challenging, not getting one-to-one feedback. Okay, so I think these are all really good points, and we'll download the chat and make sure we've covered these. Okay, I'll briefly, well, I'll unveil the ones we've identified. Okay, so self-belief, their peers, coaching. Yeah, absolutely right. The coach might not be very good for them, or the coaching might be poor. Playing, training time, attitude, ability to learn, fear, parental pressure, we think could have an impact. They could be multi-talented, so they could be being pulled in different directions, you know, wanting to play rugby, cricket, netball, you know, riding a horse, whatever, and also a fixed mindset. So I think there's some really good things in the chat that we probably haven't spotted. Alongside this, I haven't put it here, these are sort of more sort of extrinsic factors. I'm saying we've identified some player factors as well, such as their physical maturity. So have they had their growth spurt yet? Their social maturity, that could be holding them back. So these are things we'll be discussing as well as coaches to try and identify potential. I just want to look quickly at fixed mindset, which I think is a real biggie. So have people heard of this concept, growth versus fixed mindset? So
thanks, Pete. I bang on about it in school all the time.
Oh, fantastic! We're on the same page. Right, this is a real thing, right? And I have to say that I used to suffer from fixed mindset. I was going, oh, I can't possibly do that. I can't apply for that job. I can't do that. And I worked at a company that did psychological tests, and one of the psychologists said, "You've got a fixed mindset." And I've read a book by Carol Dweck, and it's about the growth mindset, and it really makes such a difference. So, you know, we see it time and time again with a fixed mindset. So players who will turn up and go, I can't do that, I can't hit a ball, and we're just trying to nudge them into the other side. Just try it and you might do it. And we've had a bit of success with some people. I actually had a player the other week, I was coaching to Ariel, she said, I can't do it, and she did it, and then I can't do it again. So it's really hard. So this is one of the things we want to try and switch people over into. So just try it. If it doesn't work, try again. Okay, here's the thing. Right. So one of the
Pete, I may have had the same conversation with the same player.
That's good to know. Oh, well, it's not good to know. It's not landing. So I think one of the key tenets of the Talent Center program is we need to get people to stretch, survive, stretch, strive, and oh no, what we're doing. Previous, go back. So we want to try and get people to stretch, strive, and thrive. And so what we need to do is encourage failure. So every coaching session, you should be failing at things. Unless you're pushing that envelope, really stretching for something, you're not going to develop. So I'd encourage you to, you know, rather than just say, oh, how'd you get on today? Say, oh, what did you try and fail at today? And are you going to try it again? So just try and push people to, embrace that failure. We want people to experiment. So, you know, try different techniques and again, adopt that growth mindset. And they're only going to do that with support and a great culture. Okay. Oh no, what's going on with my mouse control? Sorry, it's a bit hectic. So this is the helpful diagram that England Hockey produced. So there's 4 P's, but essentially what we want people to do is be in this thrive zone. So they've got a bit of stretch, they've got a bit of leadership. Leadership means not just sort of telling people what to do on a hockey pitch, but leading by example, showing off their skills, sort of imposing themselves on games. So we want people to be in this thrive zone. So with enough stretch, if we give them too much stretch, so if we promote them to, you know, the men's ones at 14 and they're not ready for it, they will go into survival mode and not try and play and just try and avoid making a mistake and making a fool of themselves. If it's too easy for them, they'll go into just the alive zone where they're not stretching themselves. They just run rings around people. And if we get it wrong completely, they'll go into the dive zone and we put off. Okay, so what is supporting them there is, well, it's all about the person and their well-being. And Gary, John and I went on a couple of really important workshops around developing player well-being, making sure they're safe, and developing that culture to support them. It's about the performance and the quality of play. That comes back to the coaching as well. And player progression. So how are we nudging people into that, you know, progressing themselves? We don't want them to be static. And then on the outside, there's partnerships, which is the 4th P. Not all of this is appropriate at our level, but certainly we've got club captains, team manager, we've got umpires, welfare officer, teammates, coach and parent are all really important as part of that partnership. And yeah, we'll be coming on to discuss more about that in a bit. Is that okay? Any questions? Cool. Okay, so this is all about the talent centre culture. So it's about player realising, I'm good at hockey, I love playing and I want to play as much as I can. I want to have fun, social interaction and engagement with others. This is crucial. Mistakes can be seen as helpful and a consequence of exploration and learning. Players can be involved in lots of different sports. This is great. And emphasis is on development rather than sort of competition and performance. And, you know, as I said, partnerships are crucial. So balance of their interaction with hockey is, it's toward leadership where they consistently can show off their strengths, you know, and try and run rings around people. But also we need some stretch as well, but we don't want to push them too far. Okay, and part of this is learning from role models around them. And I think this is why it's crucial that we need to get people playing adult hockey when it's appropriate for them, because there are some fantastic role models within the adult teams in our clubs. So it's what we want. We want to try and help people develop that maturity as well. Okay, so we're going to look at now, so this is what they're calling the complete player qualities. So game understanding. This is around, you know, understanding what's going on in a game and then making appropriate decisions and then using your actions to achieve those results. And I have to say, I don't think we are, or any junior club is particularly good at this. We try a bit. I mean, Brad's introducing some tactical things into his sessions, I know, around pressing, but we don't necessarily want under 12s to understand what an Aussie press is, but we do want to understand them, that, you know, if we can squeeze people into one area of the pitch, we've got a good chance of getting the ball back. And England Hockey have developed a really good set of principles for this, which we'll be doing videos on and bringing into the coaching as well. Highly skilled actions, I'll cover a bit more detail in a minute. This isn't necessarily about this is how to hit a ball. This is around, right, you need to be able to receive a ball at pace, into space. Not telling you how to do it, but just around some of the skills and actions you should have. Developing physical capabilities, so really important as you progress up the hockey pyramid, and we'll be bringing in some advice around you know, strength development, physical fitness, etc. Mental skills, people have the mental, you know, need to develop those mental skills and resilience to deal with it I mean, we've had some issues this season where some players have made a debut for the ladies threes, perfectly okay on the pitch, but they've just, that fear of failure has really upset them. You know, one person had COVID unknowingly and was trying to struggle through the match with breathing, but it still results in tears, and we need to sort of try and figure out how to deal with that. And fortunately, the Ladies Seas is a fantastic environment for helping people and doing that. So we need to make sure that's in place as well. And this is an overlooked skill, the teamship skills. So it is really, really important what people are doing for the team, understanding what their role is in a team. So this is one of my pet peeves, actually. Got some really, really you know, high potential players who only come alive when the ball is on the end of their stick, or it's within about 2 meters of them. And if they get tackled, they just throw their hands up in the air and sort of do a flounce, and don't chase back and try and win it. Whereas you've got other people with maybe not as many skill sets, but who are working their socks off for the team, sprinting from D to D, and who don't give up. So this is something we really want to push and bring to the fore. It's not just about being able to dribble or shoot. It's about your teamship skills as well. And some of that is around just recognizing when a teammate's struggling and just going, come on, you're doing really well. So yeah, there's a load of work to do there. Any questions on that? Okay, cool. Let's move on. I just want to run through the highly skilled action. So I mentioned that it's not around, sort of a few years ago, England hockey was saying, this is how to do a hit, and you have to hold your hands like this, and you have to do this. This is how you dribble the ball with the ball at 2 o'clock and your hand as if you're looking at your wrist, at your watch. It's not about that at all. It's about allowing people to develop their own techniques to this, but there's a recognition that when our team's got the ball, we need to be able to receive it. And at under 8s level, that might be just laying the stick down flat and stopping it. But as you move up through the development teams, you want to be able to receive on the run, and your first touch is going to be into space to eliminate an opponent with your first touch. So there's some really, really nice stuff around this, you know, about carrying the ball, how to move with the ball in different body positions, what you're trying to achieve with it. So yeah, I'm really, really excited by this stuff, and I'm looking forward to sort of working with our coaches to sort of try and get a shared understanding of it and what we do at what stage, what's appropriate for certain age groups, what's appropriate to push people on to the next level. Okay, any questions? Oops. Okay, so as I said, coaches are obviously important to this and could be holding players back. So what we have developed is our own talent centre coach reflection. So we've asked the coaches to score themselves in each of these areas. So one is around your self-awareness, what's your motivation, your management, what is around, you know, what's your awareness of complete player qualities, what's your awareness around coach-player relationships, and we asked them to add comments, and from that we're going to develop an action plan to how we support coaches. So coaches have to up their game as well, and we showed this to England hockey, and they really liked it and have stolen it, so we're ahead of the game in this one. Okay, but it's important to get proper reflection and discussion around what your areas for development are. And parents need to get involved as well. So England hockey have come out with this very helpful diagram and notes, and I think all of our parents are in this middle of the zone, this Goldilocks zone. So at one end you've got parents who just don't care, don't ask questions about how people have got on at hockey, drop them off and forget about it. We've got people who might actually be opposed to their own player development. I don't think I've come across any of those actually, but England hockey have identified that as a thing. And then we might have over-involved. I don't think there's anything wrong with being proactive and encouraging, but I think the danger is around this hyperactive. So this is where you might get a parent standing on the sideline shouting at their child, they should pass now, do this, do that, do the other, and maybe being critical when the player comes off the pitch. So again, we'll push out the guidance from England Hockey here, but as I say, I don't think we've got too many of people outside of this Goldilocks zone. Okay, and next steps. So we've, in order to help improve the culture we've got in the club, we've press ganged some junior reps onto the junior committee. I think they were volunteers, weren't they, John? But so we've now got junior players kind of sit on the junior committee and help feedback. We had a really good discussion last night with the club captains. So we're putting in place an action plan with the adult captains because we want juniors to play for the adult teams when they're ready, because it's a huge stretch opportunity. But we need in place some things like mentors and making sure the captains are sort of welcoming and there's a nice friendly environment, and that banter doesn't stray too far into too far the one way. I have to say my son Seth is playing one of the adult teams, absolutely loves it. He comes back and tells me all about the banter after the game rather than what happened in the game. So they've done a cracking job. So we'll be putting in place a plan around that. Some teams already do it well. As I said, ladies threes is so welcoming, with Nikki as captain and Gary as manager. So, and there's some really nice sort of senior figures there who really look after the girls. So that's good. We'll be looking at coach development needs and trying to figure out what we need to do that. We're developing a syllabus which is going to cover each of those player qualities, including things like game understanding. So we'll be doing video analysis and things like that. But we do need to make it appropriate for different ages. So as I say, trying to give under 12s the details of an Australian press is probably wrong, but what can we do at each of those different age groups? We've got ongoing discussions with our GB hockey contact, who's a lady called Sam Beveridge, who was the GB ladies manager in the Olympics. So she knows her stuff, and she will be coming down at some stage to make sure we're doing what we say we're doing. We'll be developing supporting evidence to show that we're on the right track, and we'll be rolling out individual development plans. So again, GB Hockey have come up with these really nice little top trump style cards. So here's a couple of examples. So both Sam Ward and Brendan Creed were in the GB Men's Olympic squad, but it's really interesting to see that they've scored themselves differently for these different attributes. And it's not about an absolute score, it's about what they feel they bring in each of these areas. So it's really interesting. So Sam Ward over this side, really, really good striker, can beat people, can shoot, forehand, backhand, but he's only given himself 2 for highly skilled actions, which I find really surprising. So what we would like to do is to roll these out to not just juniors but adults as well, and give them a chance to fill this in and then have a discussion with coaches. So I'm going to post these examples in the chat and with our own Alton version. Oh, skipped it. Oh no, where's it gone? Oh no, here we go. So as I say, I'm going to post the profile cards in the chat. I'd like you to download and complete them. The more we get, the more evidence we can submit to GB Hockey that we're doing this, and also we can show that we are working with players, we are player focused, and that coaches are having these conversations with players, and it'd be really good to get us up and running with these so that we can have those conversations. If you'd like to post in the chat any questions you've got now, and also post in the chat what you think of this presentation and what you think of the talent centre process as you've heard it so far. I'm going to stop sharing unless someone's got a question about any of the specific slides.
A question regarding the previous slide. The player profile cards, is the ask to pass those on to or for parents to work with players to fill those out?
Yes, please. Yeah, stupidly, I didn't put the example that we've created in this deck. So I will, I'm going to drop it in the chat in a minute, where I'll call it up and you can see it. We've got some slightly different things, but I like this approach where you've got your photo on it, your super strengths. We've split out highly skilled actions into what we've got when our team's got the ball and when we haven't. So we're trying to defend, because I think there's two very different skill sets. And it's not so much about the scoring. It's about just thinking about these things and, okay, what do I bring to the team and what could I learn? So it's those sorts of approaches.
And is it something that remains personal and private, or something that we're looking for them to share with coaches?
It's either. They'd get more out of it if they share it with their coach. But I appreciate there's some nervousness around it, and you might not want to do it. But also, we've put a space there for their development areas as well. So what do they want to focus on in terms of their development? Again, I'm really stupid. Sorry, I didn't put this in the slideshow to show you, but I can call it up in a minute. And we've got minis. We've got a one for sort of under 12s and over, and I've done a little minis version, which is less information.
A couple of questions coming in, Pete. So, question: who will be in the Alton Talent Centre? Question mark. Which other clubs will be part of it? So I think the Talent Centre, if we're successful, as I said, at the moment we are collating evidence, we're working through things to submit. We will, before the start of next season, we will know whether we've been successful in getting the accreditation, a bit like the club mark that we do every 3 years, I think. So we're doing that. So we're working through that. Who will be in it? Everybody, in effect. Actually, it's not about. I think some clubs at the beginning of this thought there'd be this talent centre squad taken off to one side and given special tracksuits, but actually it's about evolving the whole environment with the club, recognizing that everybody has potential and developing that potential, developing those players to the best of their potential. Which other clubs it will be, I think there is there's a philosophy within England hockey they've developed called right athlete, right environment, which is about parents in other clubs might, parents at another club might go, oh, Alton are a talent centre, therefore, the recognition that we get the talent centre badge means that we do have the right environment for developing people's potential. We have a great coaching setup, we're financially viable, lots of things that we've got to tick off to get there. Hopefully, the other clubs, but it doesn't necessarily mean they have to join Alton Hockey Club. That's the principle being that it's about providing stretch and opportunities, and you might find that we get some players from Hazelmere, we get some players that will come and join the squads for that coaching in order to benefit out of it, but they'll go back and play for their own teams of a weekend. So I think it's quite a dangerous place if people think it's everyone is who are we up with? It's us Trojans and Havant in Hampshire are the three clubs that have been chosen, and I think there's I kind of hope it won't cause that. Trojans has quite a magnetic effect in that area of the thing. They've got a National League side, ladies side, they've got quality men's teams, they've got a clubhouse. So actually they do create quite a pool. We pull quite a lot of teams in from a very wide area, 60 or whatever it was when we did the analysis last year. We've got something like a 30-odd mile radius and over 60 schools. Over 60 schools come here, so we do have again we have that, but I think it's open to those, and there'll be more clubs joining. There's a first tranche of 30-odd, but England Hockey wants there to be more as it goes through. Hopefully that answers that question. What will happen to our Alton age group teams if they are training with other clubs?
Sorry, John, can I?
Yeah, go on, Pete. Go on.
Just chip in there. Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to see other clubs send players to us. just to get more training, because actually what that does, if they're sending their best players, then it means our players are playing against their best players in training, and it has a knock-on effect around people, you know, pushing each other. So I hope that's the case, and I hope we can do that. But it's not the intention to steal players from other clubs, which say Trojans are doing quite effectively. So
I see your point, Candy, about
shouldn't have said that.
yeah, I see your point, Candy, about the alternate age. Yeah, that what happens if they're playing in the same squads? Well, hopefully, you know, we get talented players. They'll lift their game, and you know, actually, it's about creating the right stretch. You know, and if we've got a higher, you know, if we've got a slightly different quality of squad, you know, combined training squad. It's a bit like when they go to Hampshire training. Some people really thrive in that environment where they're playing with other club players. They still come back and play at Alton on a weekend, but then they'll play with a mixed group of players from clubs all over Hampshire on another weekend. How many training sessions? We won't be increasing. We've already this season gone to an hour and a half a week from an hour previously. What we will be looking at, I think, is extending the season a bit, so that we're actually fitting more. You know, actually the season might be extended by 4 to 6 weeks. Still in discussions with England Hockey about how that really works in practice, but I think it's rather than increasing the number of sessions, we've already got, you know, they've already got the ability to train there, and when they get to the right age, to train with the adult clubs, adult teams. So there's probably 3 hours worth of opportunity already. That's, you know, plus their school hockey for those that do it, it's probably enough, plus games at the weekend as a workload. Lots of questions, which is great. Thank you very much. Different abilities in different groups. Yeah, we've always had that, but actually it's about, you know, the quality of the coaching, being able to being able to judge, you know, almost where players will get stretch or thrive within those, so that making sure that, you know, we're not putting off players by putting them with a bunch of, you know, better players at that level, but they will grow. You know, if we're good coaches and we provide the right environment, people will all improve ability levels. What happens at the end of the current DCAC cycle? Does everyone start again at one level? It happens every year. That yes. Kind of happens every year. So it does reset every year, and it goes back to an assessment around that. So yes, it's kind of, that's the way it works at the moment. England Hockey moving to school years rather than under 12, under 14. Not that I'm aware of. I know it's been talked about, but I've seen nothing published about them doing that. They've talked about various things about moving the school years, calendar years, but I haven't seen anything published, Pete, unless you have around that yet.
I heard one of the England coaches say, no, it's not happening, because international is based on calendar years, not school years. And so they want to align with that. But I have heard other people saying it's going to happen. So I think we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, and I think we're saying, the question at the end, yes, you know, I think we do recognise, you know, we are constrained on pitch time, pitch space. We do our best to lever every bit of it we can. But you made that point, actually, should we be having sessions where people that, you know, that are, as you say, later developers, that we can give some extra time to those. I think we talked about, you know, Pete and I in the past, and Brad and Forbes and others, about, you know, do we have kind of a sort of a separate skills academy? People just come along and, you know, have some free play time and pick up those, and some more one-to-one opportunity to do stuff which they won't get. You know, it's quite hard as a coach when you've got 30 kids to do that one-to-one. We should be doing it, and if we're good coaches, we should be having the ability to pull players out and saying, actually, if you work on that or that, but having a separate session from time to time where people can drop in and, you know, drop-in type sessions to develop that is a good idea.
I think as coaches as well, we need to make that sort of thing happen. So it might be that actually we have more coaches at each of these sessions, and we rotate different coaches around, so we've got different eyes looking at different people. But I mean, just an example, on Monday night at the ladies session, I took 2 new players aside and ran like half an hour, just individual basic skills with them. which then helped them feel a bit more comfortable when it came to some of the more game-based play in the rest of the session. So I think again, some of these details we need to refine with talking to Sam Beveridge and going, is this the right approach? Do we need to do something different? Yeah.
Can I just make a quick point? Just going back to, say, players coming in from other clubs to train with us. I think could be hugely beneficial, because looking at, say, as an example, Minder 12 boys group, you've got guys who say do school hockey to a reasonable standard. There's different styles of coaching. There's maybe different style of play, different systems they run. So I think going up against other players for developing guys, it's really good. They're not all samey. They've got that slightly different pool, slightly different challenge each week, just for the nature of the style of maybe a different player might bring in. So I think that could be hugely positive.
Yeah. We've got players already that play at different places, as we know, that will play in different clubs. And I think we've always been seen as quite, we talk about, I know, in our place in the ecosystem, hockey ecosystem, we do recognise that we get players that get to in order for their potential to be developed further, they have to move on from Alton, and we've got a number of examples of those where actually they need that additional stretch, and we're not able to provide that in the leagues that we're playing, or with the group of players that they've got around there. So actually, I think there's an element that we've been kind of respected for the fact that we do know our limits, and I think that's kind of it's got to be true across the whole network of these things. That people and part of it is forming new allegiances with clubs as well. The talent, we'll see who's going to be the talent academies. We've got a good idea who might be a talent academy, but if we're looking at providing, actually putting players through into talent academies, which is equivalent of performance centres now, we want to have a bit of a relationship with those clubs. We want to know the people there. We want to know that they've got the right culture and everything else. So yeah, I think there's an element of getting to know sort of a wider breadth of clubs around us as well. Okay, I think we've probably run out of time, Pete, and everyone. I really appreciate you joining on a Wednesday evening. Really, really, really fabulous to have this turnout. As I said, if there are people, you've been talking to people on the touchline, if you think of other questions afterwards, please chuck them in. Drop me a line in response to the invite to this. You will start to see some more stuff appearing and some more things being posted. You'll probably start to see a bit of a change in the language as we start to adapt. So this is a new language for England hockey as well. So it's we are part of this sort of transition for them. So if there is things you hear or your kids come back and they go, this guy was talking about in possession, highly skilled actions, and they don't understand them how to explain, please flag it, because I think we admit we're going through a learning process on this as well. And thank you, Pete, very much for pulling that together, and I think giving a concise view of hopefully what it means. Hopefully what it means for us, and the ultimate ambition that we provide a brilliant environment for people to develop to their full potential, and we keep them in hockey. That's our ultimate aim here, is keeping whatever level players will ever achieve, whatever their potential is, we want them to get there, and we want them to stay playing hockey and be part of the hockey family. It's always been the aim of Alton Hockey Club as a family club in a market town in Hampshire, is that we want to keep people in love with the game. Yeah,
playing for as long as possible. Yeah, I've stuck some files in the chat. We'll make them available somewhere afterwards as well. So yeah, there's some Word versions of the forms and PDFs. But it would be awesome if we could have some of these filled in, before the next training session. That'd be fantastic.
Okay, I can't see anything in the chat, Pete, but I will.
It's there, surely. Can you see the files?
No. Can anyone else see?
Me to everyone.
Anyway, we'll get them sent round. We'll get them sent round.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Brilliant. Thank
you. That was great. Thank you.
See you all soon.
John, are you staying on for a minute? Or Martin?
Can do, yeah. Then I can't see them in the chat. Sorry to grumble.
There.
It must be me. I'm on my phone. It might be me.
I can't see them.